Hello, welcome to day 6 of our Facebook live chat for National Prevention Week. Today we'll be talking with promotion of mental health and wellness with Dr. Dovie Gamble. There will be a question and answer at the end, so please remember to submit any questions you may have on the topic via the comment section or for privacy via inbox. With that being said, let's get started. First of all, Dr. Dovie Gamble, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and your experience with the promotion of mental health and wellness.
Well, I have a doctorate in education, and my program area is leisure studies. And as a leisure educator, my specialty area is cognitive development, kids with developmental disabilities. And of course, the whole promotion of recreation and leisure is a significant component of lifestyle. I am interested in and work with Step Up Coalition because I believe in prevention. Prevention is a proactive approach to everything, and we don't do enough of prevention. We do so much more of intervention, and I believe in recreation's philosophy is that if you put in place good programs and activities and have a healthy lifestyle, that we can prevent so many things that we experience in our society. That being said, I taught for 33 years at the University of Florida, taught at Benedict College, at the University of Illinois for a while, and just had a lot of experience in recreational leisure studies and different kinds of programs. Did a lot of work with the American Cancer Society, especially with patient services and looking at quality of life issues as it relates to healing from a cancer and changing your lifestyle. So.
You know, for so long, many people have heard the term mental health, but the first question I want to ask is, what is mental health and wellness, and why is it important?
Well, you know, when I realized what you were talking about, I went, and of course I went to get some definitions, and so I went to a website that gave me, first of all, when we talk about health, what is health? Health is just a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being. It's not just the absence of illness, and some people think that it's the absence of illness. And when I looked at that definition, I thought, well, a lot of us are just not healthy in a lot of different ways. Because if it says complete physical, mental, and emotional, well, who's completely anything from any given day or any time of the day? Just depends on what's happening. But then I went on and I looked at mental health, and I looked at the World Health Organization, the WHO is what we used to call it when I was in school. And they just say that mental health is a state or a state of well-being in which the individual realizes what their potential is. They can cope with their normal stress in life. They can work productively and be fruitful. And they can make a contribution to their community.
Okay.
So,
why is it important?
You know, we were created to live together as a group of people, but we all are very different individuals, and the differences are supposed to make us strong, and in that strength we are able to build community, and that community addresses everyone's needs based on their differences and their similarities. And so when we talk about prevention, in my head, and based on my experiences, we really are talking about what do we do as a group of people to promote good mental health and a sense of wellness among people.
Okay. All right. I'll say again to our audience, don't forget that you have an opportunity to go ahead and submit any questions that you may have on these topics to us as we continue on. Another question I have for you, Dr. Gamble, is what can individuals do to promote their own mental health and wellness?
Very good question. A lot of different ways to answer that question. And I'm going to answer it from the perspective of just talking about general lifestyle.
Okay.
and probably some stuff about family and family values. I recently had opportunity to serve as a substitute teacher for Pickens County School District. I left that experience actually traumatized and depressed because what I saw in that experience were children who were just floundering, particularly at high school level. I felt like when I was in high school that we were really almost adults. We weren't quite there, but I saw kids who I didn't think would be ready for adulthood in 5 more years, even if they stayed in school. And so my question to myself is, where's the challenge here? What needs to be done differently? And so to promote good mental health, we need to nurture, raise, and train our children in ways that help them to be mentally healthy. We're all very different, and so our coping strategies, just having, good values, a good sense of self. I always think that, if you respect yourself, then you know how to respect others. I have to teach them not to be afraid. Not to be afraid to be whoever they are in their differences. So from that point of view, we've got to start making better people, whole people. But then from a more practical, and I think probably what the audience is looking for today, is some tips about some things you can do on a day-to-day basis. Lifestyle. I always tell people you need to get enough rest. I have a challenge with that. I don't sleep enough, so I know how important it is to get enough rest. Need to be physically active. Got to move. Got to get out and do something. Walking has proven to be probably one of the best forms of exercises that you can do. And contrary to popular belief, you don't have to walk fast. Just have to walk long and periodically. Engagement with others, I think socializing is huge. And then, of course, we have the organized programs, the sports programs and all that. So all of those things will promote good general health, but I think that the person who comes to any program has got to have some sense of self, some awareness, and feel comfortable to even benefit from all of those experiences.
In our culture of today, do you feel that one thing you mentioned about our social interaction has diminished greatly through maybe the overutilization of social media to interact, or not having some opportunities to bring this diversity of individuals together in a common place?
I believe you've hit the nail on the head. Social contact and interacting is how we get to know who we are. It's how we develop our sense of self, our sense of awareness, and it's how we learn how to cope with differences, our differences as well as other people's differences. Social media does not allow for that. Does not allow me to look you in the eye. Does not allow me to sense when there's a change in your countenance or a change in your expression based on something that I've done and said. And so what we're experiencing, I think, is these generations of kids who have no awareness of things around them, less more than themselves in any kind of social situation, and the engagement is so awkward. And then of course we look at what's happening socially with bullying and with people and children really being mean to each other for what I consider to be some very, very insignificant reasons. I don't like the way they dress. I don't like the way they do their hair. I did a presentation on bullying at a middle school in St. Andrews Middle School in Columbia one year, and I asked them, like, any of you bullied? Most of the hands in the audience went up. That is a lack of tolerance for difference. And so if we are raising generations of kids who can't can't respect and interact with people because of differences. And social media plays a big role in that, because you can say anything to somebody that you don't have to look them in the face.
Right.
And so I think that it is contributing significantly to some of the problems that we are seeing, especially in our younger generation.
Okay. All right. Thanks. Another question I have for you. What is self-care?
Again, another question that can take on lots of dimensions. I'm going to start probably with some physical stuff that we can do for self-care, and that is resting, eating properly, resting, eating properly, resting, eating properly. And I made those stated those things 3 times, because when you don't rest, you're not mentally sharp, you're not emotionally put together. You may be a little pensive, you may tend to snap at people, or when people ask you a question, you may not respond with a tone of voice that is welcoming and saying, I'm willing to interact with you. Then the other thing I think is really knowing yourself, having some foundations and values. I tell people all of the time that I just thank all the people who worked with me and interacted with me when I was a child. I just think about Miss Sarah Williams, who did the Sunbeam Band, and we had to go in once a week, and it was church-based, but we had to interact with each other. We had to get along with each other. If there was a disagreement, we had to talk about it. So exposure and interaction, opportunities to be exposed to different things, to be exposed to different people, to interact with different people, I think helps you to develop a sense of who you are, how you are, and why you are the way you are. I always used to say that we're all part good and part bad, and you can't keep score on that. So if you don't know what your good is, then you don't know what your bad is, and then you can't do that negotiation with yourself. Okay. And so I think that self-care comes from just really being aware of yourself and what you need and doing those things. I had students who used to say, Dr. Gamble, I'm not a morning person. I said, this is an 8 o'clock class. And if you need 8 hours of sleep, then you need to go to sleep early enough to give you an opportunity to get up in 8 hours to be an 8 o'clock class. So, and that to me is a form of self-care. It's recognizing what the demands are in your environment and then making that necessary adjustment.
For the most part, you kind of answered the second part of this question, but let me go ahead and give it to you. What can individuals do to promote their own self-care?
Self-awareness, being honest with yourself about who you are, how you are, why you are. Not being afraid to ask questions. Not being afraid to ask for help. I think that what I see most of all in children that just disturbs me is they refuse to say, will you help me do this? Or I don't understand this. Or may I do this? Or just some simple questions, and they try to figure it out on their own with not enough experience to come to a good answer. I think talking and sharing with the other people is real critical. When we lose that ability to talk to people, that means that we lose the ability to listen, to hear. Now we listen, but do we really hear what someone is saying to us? And so, again, it's important that you're aware of yourself. I know me. If I have something going on in my head, and you come and sit in front of me to talk about something very specific, it's going to bounce right off because my brain is already engaged. But if you allow me to say, give me just a few minutes to close this down, then I'll be with you, I'm going to hear everything you said. Kids don't do that anymore. I mean, it's all instant because of the computer. They want an instant response. They want you to talk to them right then when they walk in the room. And, again, self-awareness. And how do I present myself? How do I interact with people and help them to interact with me and engage with me?
Do you think some of the reluctance of them to engage is because they desire to hear more of what I want to call positive, you're the one feedback, as opposed to positive, socially critical feedback that will help them grow.
Tough love. Tough love. Now they don't like that. They want to hear what they want to hear, and their assessment of something and your assessment of something may not be the same, but they want you to respond to them based on their assessment. That's called lack of coping. That's lack of coping. If you cannot deal with someone disagreeing with you, someone taking a different point of view, or having a different position about something, is that normal? Is that something that happens every day? I remember a situation where a cousin of mine was negotiating with her 4-year-old about what he was going to eat for dinner. And I said, I said, could you go in there and talk to somebody? I want to talk to him. And I said, he's 4. I said, he has at least 12 years where someone's going to be telling him what to do. And he's not going to get to have a voice in that. I said, you're setting him up for failure. So when we interact with children, if we give them realistic expectations, then they can cope and function. And if we don't, then they're always going to want someone to tell them what they already know. I think I'm good at this. You should think I'm good at this too. I don't care if I don't do it right.
Okay.
So it's tough, but we just have to do it. Now you can do it gently, but most of all, the thing is to do it consistently. I mean, I have young cousins, and some of them don't even like to talk to me because I've been a teacher. They don't know what I'm going to say. I say it anyway. And you know what? They still love me, and they tell me I love you. And then I hear that they have conversations where they say, well, Duzzy said, do this way, and do this way if you want to be successful. And then the other one looks at him and says, well, yeah, that sounds like something she'd say. So they may not want to receive that right then. But, you know, if you're trying to control behavior, you want to see a response right then. But if you're writing on a cue card so that they can pull something up when they need it, then you don't care what the response is right then.
So, but what are some of the benefits of self-care?
When you are aware enough to take care of yourself, you can receive joy, experience joy and happiness. You can also be the source of joy and happiness for other people. When you take care of yourself, when you know yourself, things that are beyond your control don't become an issue for you.
Right.
You're not worried about what someone else is going to do. You just take care of what you can do. A sense of self also helps you to, again, like I said, admit when you need help. And also know when you can help someone. When you can step in and say, oh, I can do that. It also makes it possible for you to ask someone honestly, how do you think I handled that? And to deal with their answer that may be different from yours.
Right.
So the more you know about yourself, the better you feel about yourself, the greater your success is going to be with your interaction with other people.
So, literally, your knowledge about yourself from a social standpoint, a mental standpoint, a physical standpoint, as well as your health, is probably the biggest asset that we have as individuals towards this self-care piece.
Right.
Yeah.
We, God didn't create us to be alone. That's why He created Adam for Eve. And He also created us to be a little higher than animals, so we have reason and ability to make judgments. We have free will. But that has to be molded and shaped. And I consider everyone has the ability to learn. Learning plateau may be different, but everyone has the ability to learn. I also believe that everyone can change.
Yes.
Can't be a Christian and not believe that everyone can change. So, and in my mind, nothing beats a failure but a try. So I give everyone an opportunity to be whoever they want to be at that moment, and I try to accept that. If that person's way of being is not what I would do, who am I to criticize them? I just try to be civil and sociable, and I don't put them in my inner circle. So when we are dealing with promoting good mental health, we've got to promote the development of self, because then you can have good mental health.
You touched on this a little bit earlier, but for this particular question, just to be a little bit more refined and specific, how are exercise, outdoor activities tied to the promotion of mental health wellness?
Physiologically, stimulation of the body also stimulates body functions. I used to, when I taught, I always taught my classes early because I'm a morning person. Past 12 o'clock, I have too much stuff in my head, so it's too difficult for me to kind of ferret out one little thing. So I had my classes at 8 o'clock, 10 o'clock, and 11. But I got up and I went to the gym at 6 o'clock, and I always said I needed to get a rush my blood to my brain, wake me up. And so physical activity stimulates the body. It stimulates your endorphins, which are those hormones that help you to experience joy and happiness. If you're depressed, it lifts off some of that heaviness that goes along with the feelings of depression. It is just good for you because it stimulates you physiologically, causes your body to function, also to help you know what's not functioning, and all of that is good for moving you along the course of the day.
Okay. So, but what would you say are some of the best activities that promote mental health and wellness?
And now I'm focusing on youth, everyone. So I just think that I think physical activities, sports activities, are good. The reason that I think that they're good is because they can address so many things. They can address the challenge to be the best that you can be. They also teach sportsmanship and respect for others, and it teaches you to be the best that you can, and also it's physical. So you are moving, you're stimulating your body, you keep your body toned, you are working out, and you keep your muscles strong. So much can be beneficial for youth, and I think even adults, by being involved and engaged in some kind of physical activity. Sports activities are great because it gives you that opportunity to be in a group experience, to figure out how you can contribute to the group, which is good for your confidence level, teaches you how to deal with other people who are different from you, and then at the same time you're getting this exercise that helps you with lungs and breathing and all of that will help you sleep better at night.
In today's society, there's a lot of people when you talk about activities and exercising and all, and then with some restrictions individuals have, especially in this time of the year with a lot of pollen in the air and everything. Do you believe that most people miss out on opportunities of activities for walking by being at home, looking at TV for 30 minutes, just walking in place?
Yeah. I recently had back surgery. Okay. And one of the things that they told me that I needed to do is I needed to get up and walk. And because I couldn't drive, so I couldn't take myself to a place to walk, when I would get up, I just walk around in a circle in the house. I just walked around in a circle, repeatedly. When I'd go back to bed and I'd get up and I'd walk around several times. And when I went back to the doctor, he says, "You're doing really well." And I said, "Yep." He says, "Well, what do you do?" I said, "I'm walking around in a circle in the house." And I think that if we understand that that's our responsibility. It's our responsibility to be physically active. So if you can't go out, if you can't go to the park, if you have sensitivities to pollen and all of that, walk around in a circle. You can sit And I'm telling you, you can do so many exercises. You can do weight exercises with a can of beans, just bending. And I got to start doing that because I went to a painting program last night, and my arm almost fell off from holding up the paintbrush. So there are lots of things that we can do at home, and that helps us. You know, cleaning the house is one of the best physical exercises that you can do because you're reaching and you're bending and you're moving things around. So that's a good exercise. So, but there's so many things that you can do that don't cost a dime. Walking to the mailbox, walking across the street to say hello to someone, down the street to talk to someone. All of those things are good. Moving.
All right, thank you. If someone is struggling with their mental health and wellness, what are some options for them to consider?
When I was growing up, I had a cousin who was always there for me. And so I think if you're struggling with something, you really need to have someone that you trust and that you can talk to, because then we can get a sense of how severe this is. They used to call me a tattletale when I was a little girl, because if somebody was in trouble, if something wasn't right, and when I would talk to them about it and I couldn't get them to see reason, then I did go tell someone. So you gotta feel comfortable, first of all, to take that step and let somebody know, I'm feeling problems with this, I'm having problems with that. And then I'm hoping that you do this before you get in trouble. We got lots of intervention programs and reactionary programs, but what are some proactive programs? This is where family and friends come in. This is where school counselors, someone who you consider a mentor, someone that you can trust. I really do believe that those things, before you have to enter the healthcare system, are so critical. I really firmly believe that when you have programs and you have people who are running programs, you provide a person with an opportunity to have someone who can help them when they're reaching a crisis, or beginning of a crisis, something before it gets really bad. Beyond that, we have really good mental health services. I even went by the mental health office to pick up some brochures to see what kind of services they offer. And again, when we start talking about organized prevention and intervention programs, we're talking about when someone presents with a mental health challenge that has interfered with their ability to function normally. They're not just going to treat that person, they're going to treat the environment that person lives in and all those people in the environment. So again, I think if you are having problems, you need to reach out. But if you have a circle of people and friends, sometimes they can help you know that you're having a problem before you even are able to articulate that I have a problem, or I'm feeling awful sad, or I've been feeling sad for 3 or 4 days or for 3 or 4 weeks. Someone can say, well, maybe you're a little bit depressed and maybe we need to do this, and well, let's get out of the house and go do this, and some of those kinds of things. But I think it all starts again with understanding that when you are up and down, and I always tell people that because of life, as long as you're having little peaks and valleys, you're doing fine, because that means you're not staying down too low, you're not staying high too long. And it is the little peaks and valleys where it says something may knock the wind out of your sail at 5 o'clock. But by 6 o'clock, you're standing up and dusting yourself and moving on, because you went over there and you said to someone, I did such and such and it didn't turn out too well, and I got yelled at, and I'm feeling pretty bad about that. And that person will say, well, how could you have changed that? How could you have done that differently? And then you'll see that, okay, so you made a bad decision at that minute, but 5 minutes later you can make a better decision. So it's about feeling like failure or doing something wrong is not a death sentence, and it's not going to put you out of something, but that you can pick yourself up and move on. And I just think that there's a myriad of ways to address that. Short term, good social relations. Long term, know what's available in your community for mental health interventions if something gets to be severe.
Well, earlier you mentioned that, you was considered a tattletale when you was growing up and all, but and today the young people call that being a snitch. And I think that if many of us, whether you call being called a snitch or not, but the only way to be a good snitch is that you care about somebody because of what you recognize,
Right.
and you're looking for the betterment of someone.
Right. I wear that little tattletale label very, very proudly today because I didn't tell anything that should not have been told.
Right.
But if I had a friend who was in trouble and I knew that I have done all I can do, I mean, and sometimes I didn't tell somebody, but I'd go and I'd say, if this is going on and that's going on, then what would you suggest? And I tried that and it didn't work. I'd go to somebody and I'd say, you need to sit down and talk to them. I may not tell them exactly what was going on, but I'd say, you need to call them in, you need to talk to them, or you need to go up and talk to them. And it would be a person that could do that without raising an eyebrow, and they would eventually get it. But if it was something really stupid, because we do stupid things when we're young, I would just go tell somebody, I'm getting ready to do something stupid, so y'all need to stop. And I didn't care if they didn't talk to me the next day or the next week, because eventually they were going to realize that this could have turned out differently. And it just turned out that I told them. And I always tell my friends, I said, now, you can come to me about anything. I said, but when you get stupid, I'm trying to help you, but if I can't help you, I'm finding some help. And sometimes they would come to me because they wanted me to help them find some help.
Okay. Fine. What are some ways that employers can help promote mental health and wellness among their employees?
That's a good question too. One of the things that my boss said to me when I was teaching was that sometimes it's good to take an MI day. An MH day, and I was like, MH, what do you mean? He said a mental health day. He said sometimes you just don't feel like being bothered with 3 classes with 70 people in them. He said you ain't sick enough to go to the doctor, but you just don't feel like it. He said stay home. And so I think that employers should be flexible in the way they interact with their employees. I think that they should, if they have breaks that they're supposed to take, I think you should insist that they take those breaks. Some employers have programs that promote health and wellness, that gives people opportunities for interaction. Today, people are building businesses that incorporate opportunities for people to walk during their break, to walk during their lunch, facilitating healthy eatings and different things like that. But I think more than anything, creating a work environment where stress is managed, because if it's a work environment, stress is going to happen. Creating an environment where your employees feel comfortable to address their needs. And now when I say that is that somebody doesn't have to tell, you don't have to tell a boss, I'm in a bad mood and I don't want to work today. But addressing their needs may be that they need to call in and say, I just need to stay home today, or this is, I've got this going on and I just need to stay home. Be flexible enough to allow those kinds of things to happen. Of course, then the other hand is the employees can't abuse it. And generally when something like that goes away, it's because somebody else has abused it. But being open and creating an environment that has less stress in it, and that you manage the stress that naturally goes along with the work environment.
Well, I was blessed to work for a major corporation for 40 years, and there was a program that was available, to address those type things. It was an employee assistance program that had professional counselors that you could go and you could sit down with. But there are more of these small companies and these small businesses that do not have that opportunity. So what is available to them that they may not be aware of?
I think that if you have a small business and you have a number of people working for you, that you should know what's available in your communities. Right. You should have a relationship with the health providers in your community so that you can refer. Okay. And you should make that information available to your workforce. Again, there is stress in any kind of work environment, and you know what kind of stress that is. So as a preventative measure, you should make sure that people, again, have places that they can go or know where they can go when that stress becomes overwhelming. And I guess the first thing is that, I need to know that my work environment creates these kinds of stress. And so then, you, the worker, the person who owns that, who is the employer, needs to know what's available in the community, make sure that information is out. If you have let's say a season in your job where you're working intensely, people putting in a lot of overtime, whatever, you need to have something to help make that overtime experience tolerable, and some way of helping people know how to manage that stress from that overtime experience. I think that we saw a lot of changes in people's behavior when we start seeing people work around the clock. Third shift jobs, working all night, sleeping all day is really abnormal. And so because you never sleep, if you're a person who worked from 11 at night to 7 in the morning, trust me, you did not sleep 8 hours during that day. And so if a person works a shift like that, should they work a shift like that for 5 days? Should they work a shift like that for 6 days? People say you can't catch up on sleep, but you can rest better. So, those kinds of things. If you have to run those kind of programs, you should make sure that in your structure of the work experience that it's such that it allows people to rest, which I think is critical to any type of mental and health and wellness in all levels. And then you should also help them to be able to find the sources for help if they get into a need situation.
Do you think it would be beneficial if, I know that this is somewhat of a limitation, but for these small businesses that I think about, those that where there's either a husband and wife or just an individual who owns these businesses, but there's a lot that they're trying to grow the business, and it may not be a focus in about mental health, but where your Chamber of Commerce is to be able to provide them with some information to help point them into what is really available, that otherwise they may not have that.
Well, that is the tough thing about our society, is that there's help out there and there's no way to know or access that help, and a lot of people just don't know where to start. That's a tough question, because again, if I start a business and I see that we have a Chamber of Commerce here, but I don't know what they do. Do I go in to do that? Well, you have to, people who start businesses, you need to take the time to figure out what's available for your business, how do you operate within the parameters for safety, because there's OSHA concerns and all of that. So if you're gonna have a business, then you need to do the things that you need to do to make that business successful. And you need to know that you can go to your Chamber of Commerce. You need to know that you can call the Business Bureau. You need to know the places and the resources that are available to you. And truth be told is that you have to seek those out if you are the owner of a small business.
Okay. Well, on behalf of Stepping It Up Coalition of Pickens County, we would like to thank all of you for tuning in, and a special thanks to Dr. Gamble for taking the time of her day to sit and speak to us and to share some of her own experiences, but the things that are available that can help us when it comes down to mental health. Thank you.
You're welcome.